A.A.K. Niazi, also known as Lieutenant General Amir Abdullah Khan Niazi, was a Pakistani military officer. He commanded the Pakistan Eastern Command in East Pakistan during the Bangladesh Liberation War and the Indo-Pakistan War of 1971. Pakistan's military, under Niazi's command, claimed as many as 3 million innocent lives. Under his command, over 4 lakh women and girls were raped and abducted. As many as 10 million Bengalis were forced to flee to India due to the gruesome genocide. Pakistan military holds him morally responsible for his decision to unilaterally surrender the Pakistan Eastern Command of 93,000 troops by signing the instrument of surrender on the 16th of December 1971. One of the victims has recalled the horrors that she had to face after 52 years. One of the victims, named Noor Jahan, described that she was 14 years old and was playing with her sister when the military truck arrived at their farmhouse and loaded the duo inside, where they discovered several women sitting back to back with their hands tied. The sisters were told to look down and remain silent. The truck continued through small towns, making several stops and loading more women and girls into the back. She recalls that the women were stored in the military barracks and regularly raped by several Pakistani military soldiers in frequent intervals. She recalls that there were 20 to 30 women confined to one room, and the only time they saw daylight was when the door creaked open and the soldiers marched in. She also shared that the then Pakistan's military commander, General Tikka Khan, had ordered the military men to rape the women and impregnate as many women as possible with blood from the West. Similar dreadful experiences were shared by Razia Begum, who said that she had gone to look for her husband Abu Sarkar, who had been missing for several days in August 1971. Sarkar was a fruit vendor at the Tejturi Bazaar in Dhaka, so she eagerly walked through the street and the deserted lanes but could not find him. As Begum rounded a corner, she came face to face with a squad of soldiers. She attempted to flee but was shot in the head, with a rifle leaving her with a scar. Begum was brought to a neighboring bush where she spent weeks being raped repeatedly. The troops were stationed nearby and made several daily returns. At the age of 78, she recalls that she was tied to a tree and the Pakistani soldiers in fact took turns to rape her during their breaks. She was dumped into a little ditch then. She was ultimately discovered by a passerby who brought her to a refuge that Begum portrays as a lost and found one for women who were kidnapped during the conflict. Well, after living the gruesome past, the situation in Bangladesh is as follows. Violence and destruction continues even after Sheikh Hasina's departure. The most easy targets are the legacies and commemorations of Mujibur Rahman in the form of buildings and structures. Several iconic statues and the murals of Bangabandhu have been beaten with shoes, bulldozed and pulled down violently. In a fresh yet unfortunate development, the iconic statue at the 1971 Shaheed Memorial Complex in Bangladesh has also been vandalized amidst protests in the nation. Congress MP Shashi Tharoor has reacted sharply to the incident, calling out anti-India vandals. The statue commemorated the moment Pakistan surrendered in 1971, thereby ending the Bangladesh Liberation War and the Indo-Pak War. Taking to social media platform X, he shared that he was saddened to see vandalism, and these attacks on Indian cultural centers, temples and Hindu homes are disgraceful. Well, the big question, of course, is why a Pakistan surrender statue is being vandalized. Does this prove that this is no student revolution? Have they forgotten what Pakistan did to Bangladesh and Bangladeshis at that time? Let's open it up. Joining us at this point, Ambassador Veena Sikri, former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh. We also have Major General Rajan Kochar, defense expert, joining us live. Brigadier B.K. Khanna, 1971 war veteran, is live with us. Sumit Peer, political commentator, also joins the broadcast. Let me begin with you first, Ambassador Sikri. Shocking visuals are coming to light, shocking scenes of vandalism, of desecration. Have Bangladeshis forgotten what happened pre-1971 to their own, is the big question.
Yeah, that is the big question, because what seems very evident from the vandalization and the horrible scenes that you have described is that every effort is being made to wipe out any references to the 1971 Liberation War. That has definitely been one of the targets, because one of the first visuals that came out of Dhaka on the 5th of August as former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was leaving the country was every effort to break down the statues of Sheikh Mujib, of the father of the nation. And they were horrible, ghastly evidence of people, getting onto the statues and urinating on them. Horrible. It was really unbearable to see those statues. And my question remains, were those students who were doing it? I don't think, because the students are very patriotic, they really revere the memory of Sheikh Mujib, and I think that to have them immediately jump on this, desecration of statues would be completely uncharacteristic of the principles that the students follow. In fact, it shows very clearly that the people who were doing it were Islamists, perhaps the Jamaat-e-Islami, perhaps other Islamist parties, extremist parties. And not only the statue of Sheikh Mujib, they burnt his home in Dhanmandi 32, which was a pilgrimage site for everybody who went to Dhaka. And it was a place where he lived, and it was a place where he was assassinated. And that was burnt to the ground. And then in his hometown, also that they went and attacked. And every memory of the war was thought to be obliterated. And this has been a tragic way that they have tried to say. Even Professor Muhammad Yunus, many, many times he referred to the events of 5th August as a second liberation. So what did he mean by this second liberation? A liberation from the first liberation? Are the values of the liberation war, are the values of the 1972 constitution of Bangladesh being forgotten, being deliberately forgotten? In fact, there is so much talk now of the constitution being reformed, the need to change everything, the values, the 4 pillars of the constitution of 1972 of Bangladesh were democracy, secularism, nationalism, and socialism. These were the 4 pillars. Now, if you want to forget it, are we not going to see a return to a democratic Bangladesh? This is a really worrisome and concerning thought. And my concern also is that will the people, these very students who have been involved, the very students who learn through their studies about the liberation war, about the role of all the countries, and one of the strong things that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina had done was to present the correct history of the liberation war. I remember when I was there at the time when Begum Khalda Zia was the Prime Minister, the recognition of India's role was just not there. And it was always a question mark. Why did India come? They had their own purpose, they had their own angle, and all kinds of insinuations used to be made about that. But it was under Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina that the history books were set right, and every individual in her government, every minister, and she herself, whenever there was any interaction with India, with the Prime Minister Modi, or with any delegation from India, she would begin by saying that we remember the events of 1971. But now, after the 5th of August, in this short spell of less than 10 days, you've seen these strong actions to obliterate every reference to 1971. And the only group that could be wanting this are the Islamists and the Jamaat-e-Islami, because it was the Jamaat-e-Islami who was defeated. It was the pro-Pakistan Jamaat-e-Islami and the Razakar groups that they had at that time. They were the ones who were defeated in the 1971 war. And so they are the only ones you can think who would want to have a situation where you obliterate those memories, those values. And, you spoke about the rape and the killings, and even the women who survived those, they were called Biranganas. They were given an honor, they were given a title, they were given a place in society because they had undergone all those horrors of the liberation war. And the statue, the place you spoke to, the mural you spoke about, that was the statues created to remind one of the handing over. When Pakistan lost in the war, when they gave their weapons, handed their weapons, surrendered to the Indian army. And that is the most memorable picture you see all over Bangladesh, everywhere, wherever you go. But now that being destroyed as well, it's really a very sad moment. And one has to wonder that if it was the students at all who could be doing it. I would not say the students, and I say very strongly that the students and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's government were on the same page till as late as 15th of July. She was supporting them. They had gone to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court hearing was being awaited. All this happened only after 15th of July. And to see that in 10 days or 15 days, all these changes could have been made by the students, it is very difficult to believe.
Yes, Major General Kochhar, let me draw you in here. Major General Kochhar, very, very shocking, scenes of statue vandalizations, of also targeting of Bangabandhu, of course, Mujibur Rahman, but also Pakistan surrender statues. Is this a student movement, or is this, a pro-Pak sentiment march? That is the big question. If Bangladesh has forgotten what happened, the rape, the plunder, the genocide of 1971 and pre-1971, Major General Kochhar.
you for inviting me to your program. I have a slightly different perspective of this entire thing. When we say that this movement, all of a sudden it is happening and 15, 20 days and things like that, I don't think that is the entire truth, because this kind of movement, indoctrination of the entire students, entire youth has been carried on for a couple of years now. And a right opportunity was being thought of, that when it is going to be triggered. Because if you look at the situation in Bangladesh over a period of time, especially if you start uh, from the elections. The first election of Sheikh Hasina, when she came to power, was based on actual popularity. Subsequently, the elections which were held more or less have been rigging, or this kind of a situation where the political parties were not co-opted into the election process, or they boycotted the thing. And then what is important to understand about this incident is that when you are planning to vandalize a particular a monument which reflects your own history, where are the security forces who are supposed to safeguard you from dismantling such structures? You have the Bangladesh army, which is quite a professional army, because I have trained a few Bangladeshi officers. I can tell you they're quite sharp, intelligent, and it's a professional army. Now, where is this Bangladesh army? They also need to protect this very rich heritage of the country. I agree, these youths are two generations apart. That is, in 1971, none of these were actually born. As a matter of fact, their fathers also would have been born. So it has been a long period for them to understand the importance that what goes in giving independence to a country. And one more statement which I would like to make is, because these youth have been incited, they have been triggered, and Sheikh Hasina hasn't done herself good by calling them Razakars, because that was also a statement made by her, I believe so, though her son is now saying that she never made that statement. But the very fact that when you start doing branding, or when you start labeling a particular student community against those people who conspirated against your own country in preventing you from getting independence, they collaborated with the Pakistan army. So that is a trigger. So in all these public offices which people hold, we have to be extremely careful what kind of statements we actually give. And targeting of the minorities in Bangladesh is not a new thing. If you go back to history, you will find many such incidents in Bangladesh, where over a period of time minorities have been targeted. And my last point, uh, I have this information of this gentleman, Major Mathur Rahman. He was a major in the Bangladesh Army in 1976. He went out of his country, he left the army, he went out of this country for 10 years, he returned back in 1986, and after that, he has been creating a terror network in Bangladesh, supporting the Islamic forces. He was radicalized in those 10 years when he was outside Bangladesh. And over a period of time, he has built a very sizable force of this kind of Islamic terror in Bangladesh. And if you read in the last 5 years, what has been happening in Bangladesh is the spread of the Islamic terror. So it is a very well planned, orchestrated movement. I would not like to name any outside influences at this stage, because we are quite sure that over a period of time, we will come to know what were these agencies who were involved in creating this kind of a situation in Bangladesh.
Okay. Brigadier Khanna, come in here. You know, you've seen the 1971 war up close. You were, of course, a veteran, fighting that war. But now when you see the scenes and the visuals and the incidents that are being reported from Bangladesh, what runs through your mind?
Thank you very much. In fact, what we saw in 1971 was altogether a different story at all. And of course, everybody that victim was, they were very fed up as far as the Bangladeshis were concerned with the Pakistanis. And I have got my own, in fact, as a souvenir, by a soldier writing to his commanding officer that, in fact, my wife is in Miyawali. I want to, in fact, have some improvement here only so that I can go to them better. It is officially which is there with me. I can tell that. Secondly, about the number, atrocities which we heard it from those Bangladeshi, of course, it was, in fact, tears came to your eyes at that time. And they were for it. And then, of course, it was very difficult to even, in fact, protect the PWs because they were there to lynch them. They were there because they wanted to lead them because anybody who was coming there. Now, coming to whatever, in fact, 2019, Bangladesh government invited us, although they are calling us, in fact, the freedom fighters. So we went there. In fact, we met the Prime Minister, we met the President, we met all the chiefs. They got a Ministry of the Liberation Affairs also. They all honored us. So, and after interacting with the various journals also there, so there was nothing of the sort, which is something which happening there. But now that seeing the situation at that time, they were simmering, in fact, discontentment. But because when we interacted with the, at that time, the Bahini was there, and now they call the Mukti Yodhas. So when we interacted with the Mukti Yodhas, so Mukti Yodhas are now a little bit, quite a bit of, they got a lot of, in fact, the incentives. So they are quite a bit of a rich. So the new generation which has come up, they see them. These are the one, of course, liberation war to kar diya. But what about us? We are not getting employment. 170 million people are there as per Bangladesh. 40% of 40 million are unemployed. Where is the employment which is given to us? So they are more worried as far as their own employment. That is one thing which there only. And secondly, in fact, even before and even after that only, that the economic prosperity which was brought by Hasina was confined to only 10% of the top. They had 41% of, in fact, they were controlling the economy of this. And the last, of course, the bottom 10%, they were having only 1.3% gain out of it. So what we find here is that even if the prosperity is there, but it is not going to right to each other. And this is the same thing is not only in fact, in Bangladesh, we saw it in fact in Nepal, we see it in fact even in, to some extent even in India also. So, what about Pakistan, what about in fact Bangladesh, what in Sri Lanka or that was in Afghanistan. So that is one, this is a trigger which I call it. And the third one which is there this year, so when in fact Hasina was doing very well, when she of course lost touch with the, that is what is the major, the trigger actually the ruling, that is they should have seen it there, that what is simmering, because so I think her advisor or her intelligence, etc., they never told her what is happening out there. And that touch was not there because so that is. So let us see it, as was said also, as we see it only as an internal matter, which is happening there. We should learn the lesson from it only, and what we should be doing it there only. That is what we should be more worried about only, rather than saying it the foreign and not.
So with Peer, come in here on your take on this movement and what its real intentions are. And do you believe those real intentions are now coming to light when one sees the nature of the violence and the targets that we've seen over the last few days of these vandals and these miscreants in Bangladesh, Sumit?
Uday, thank you for having me on your show. Look, I have been very vocal with what my thoughts are and on all media forums. Look, it's an Islamist revolution. Whatever way you look at it, whatever you call it, bhai, you have to call spade a spade. Let's not try to be ostriches and befool ourselves. Oh, yahan ye ho gaya, wo ho gaya. In Islamic countries, these revolutions happen. Look, what does Muhammad Yunus say by saying it's the liberation of Bangladesh? The liberation of Bangladesh means from a democracy, at least on papers, you have become an Islamic theocracy. Now, there used to be elections, well, there are any elections. Why does the Chief Justice has to resign in 1 hour? So are you changing the legal system? Are you trying to bring in Sharia? It is quite possible they will get in Sharia now. I have been very clear in saying Muhammad Yunus cannot control anything there. Because do you think Jamaatis are going to let him have the control? Jamaatis lost. They've got the control back. They used BNP as a landing ground. Now today, what does ISIS flags they are doing? There's a solid ISIS Khorasan presence there. What are Islamists doing there? What are jihadis doing there? What is Pakistan's ISIS doing there? Why all the jailbreaks happened? Why in 271 districts Hindus are targeted? Why in Nohokali Hindu girls are abducted and raped in broad daylight? Why you are telling Hindus, yahan pe sign kar lo, paise lo, nikal lo? Why in every passing hour, you have more and more Hindus coming to the borders? It's a very targeted, attack on Hindus. I have videos of that. I can't share them. If you want, I can send it to you. There are people who have been Hindu. They are going to the hostels. What they are doing, they are getting hold of the Hindu boys and throwing them with their bag and baggage from a 3rd floor, 5th floor with their bag and baggage. Now, even the European Union, even the United Nations has acknowledged, even Jamaatis are acknowledging that there's a Hindu genocide going on. Why Mahatma Gandhi's statue was vandalized? Why Indira Gandhi Center was burnt to ashes? Why Mujibur Rahman's, all the statues were broken? Why his home was tarnished? Why there's a Hindu musician, some Anand, some name is his Anand. Why his home was burned down? Why they are all attacking all the Mahakali temples? And now this, statue of liberation, why they are bringing it down? Because it had an Indian impact on it and a Hindu impact on it. I have been going to Bangladesh every quarter for 10 years, maybe 30, 40 times I have been to Bangladesh. And Uday, I can tell you in a span of 10 years, I could every time see this amount of radicalization is increasing. This amount of Hindu hatred is increasing. The Jamaatis were taking control with every passing day. Look, when you look at the history, Beena ma'am will bear me out. When you look at the history, people went to Bangladesh. A lot of people from Malda, Murshidabad, they went there. They thought it is Pakistan. When India liberated it from Pakistan, it became Bangladesh. They did not go for Bangladesh. They went for Pakistan. So when Sheikh Mujibur Rahman says, I am secular. Islam mein secularism kahan hota hai? Even Islam mein there is nothing called voting. They don't believe in voting. Islam doesn't advocate for democracy. And one man has one vote and two women put together have one vote. That is what the Islam says. So democracy and all doesn't work in the Islamic world. How many democracies do you see working in the Islamic world out of 54, 57 countries? Hardly, not even 5. That is how Islam works. So when it happened, these people, when the liberation happened, look, if you look at the mathematics, 40% of the people wanted the liberation. 40% of the people did not want the liberation. Where did the balance pact come from? Balance came from 15% of the Hindus or 20% of the Hindus who were pro-liberation. This Hindu movement, along with the liberals or the seculars of Bangladesh, who were Muslims, got into the side of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and the liberation happened. But these jihadis, these Islamists never wanted the liberation to happen. They were not against the liberation. So what happened now in due course of time, then the Hindu population has depleted. Now Hindus have become the ultimate target. They say, tumhare karan, because you sided with these Awami League guys and because of you India intervened and because of you, that Bangladesh was formed. There is already a lot of venom against India there because they wanted to be in Pakistan. They didn't want to be in Bangladesh. And let me tell you today something. I have spoken to some people. I'm putting my neck out and telling you. I told them, Pakistanis came and raped your 4 million women. You know what did he tell me? Oh, kiyo yo dada, Muslim che. Okay, they were Muslims, it's okay. I am quoting Bangladeshis, they have told me this, myself, personal experience. What do you expect from that society? So you think they were all radicalism had died? Sheikh Hasina was trying to balance the things. But Uday, look, when she went to China, the trip went bad. The trip went bad within 1 week. Within 1 week, this whole fiasco started. We know China funded the money. We know there's a ISI involvement. And if I quote Times of India, there's an article in which is written that our intelligence agencies have confirmed, yes, it is ISI funded by China who did all this. Look, we know Americans want St. Martin Island. We know Americans want an airbase there, which was rejected to Donald Liu by Sheikh Hasina. So there's also an American angle to it. But at the end of the day, the problem is to ferment trouble for India. The problem to have a big refugee crisis for India. The problem is that China wants to encircle India whichever way they can. And the thing is that today, Bangladesh is East Pakistan, sir. Let's recollect, let's wake up to this reality. And will it become Afghanistan or not? That's only a matter of time. Because if it becomes Afghanistan, it cannot be turned back. In such a theocracy, in such an Islamist thing, Hindu is an outcast. Hindu nahi chalega. Even if he's a Bengali, even if he fought with Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, even if they have given their sweat and blood, they are the outcasts. They will be targeted first. And let me tell you, sir, it will not stop at Hindus. They will start fighting against themselves. Eventually, it will become an Afghanistan-like situation where there will be various people controlling various kind of these patches of land, and whoever will be a bigger Bahubali will have a bigger stake. It is how it is going to end up. If Muhammad Yunus thinks he can control Bangladesh, he cannot. If Sheikh Hasina cannot control, do you think a 80-year woman on a wheelchair, Khaleda Zia, can control it? She cannot control it. If military is interested in Khaleda Zia, why are they not letting her son to come to Bangladesh? Why is the military blocking her son to come to Bangladesh? Because they know if ever there is an election, like Pakistan, a sham election, BNP is not on the ground. Awami League is not on the ground. Who has the cadre? Jamatis have the cadre. Who is going to win the election? Jamatis are going to win the election. And that is what the whole game. They will talk to the whole world. Look, we did an election. Jamatis won. That is what people want. And then Jamatis say, we want Sharia. Why is the Chief Justice of Bangladesh told 1 hour? What does 1 hour mean? 1 hour you don't step down, will come and lynch you. How many people have they lynched? They have lynched the actors who made a picture of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. They killed his father. They lynched him to death because you acted in a movie for Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. His father, you produced the movie. I mean, if you see this kind of venom flowing in the veins, and do you tell me this is a student protest? What if these students tomorrow tell, okay, Mr. RV Chef resign? Will he resign? If we tell Muhammad Yunus, we resign, will your Muhammad Yunus resign? No. How can students dictate terms? Because students are used. Now it's anybody's land. Anybody can stop anybody in Bangladesh. Anybody can come and check you. Anybody can come and torch your house. This is what the reality is. It is in the hands of hoodlums, Jamatis and Islamists. 1,200 people were let out of Pakistan, Bangladeshi jail, Uday. BSF says they will be sent to India. I'm quoting BSF, Hindustan Times article. They said they will be sent to India. So when the jailbreak happens, how do only 1,200 jihadis and radicals break out of that jail? What is their business to come to India? Why do they want to come to India?
Yes.
And you have reduced the border guard, you're asking them to do traffic police ki duty so that when people come to border, it's a takeway for them.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.